Jonathan Chick back with you with another episode of Shtisel Man. So we're on season 1, episode 9, and there's a lot of questions about what's going on with Shulem's relationship with this long-lost daughter. And I won't do any spoilers about what might happen or not happen in the future episodes, but those of you who watched already knows. Basically, you have a situation where Shulem is given a summons to a Jewish court for not having a relationship with his daughter, son-in-law, and grandchildren. What is the cause of Shulem's not just ambivalence, but really rejection of his daughter? And would this actually happen in real life? And what is the Chabad Lubavitch movement about? And that would cause such a reaction in Shulem that he would want nothing to do with his own daughter. Despite Shulem's narcissistic tendencies, still, that's like a big thing. As you see, they seem pretty normal, his daughter and her husband and the kids, when he goes and visits them. So what's going on here? All right, first of all, to understand this whole thing, you need to really understand a little background, a lot of background, but we'll do a little this time, on the Chabad Lubavitch movement. So first of all, Chabad is different than all other Hasidic sects in almost every way. I mean, they are 360 degrees different in the one main area, which is whereas the Hasidic world is ambivalent or shrugs off, or really not just quite antagonistic in some cases to the outside world and the influences that the outside world may bring. The Chabad movement embraces the world and they're extremely worldly, and they really integrate. Now, many of you watching this might know already a lot about Chabad in terms of there is a Chabad house, which means basically a synagogue and a place of meeting and a place of community in probably every major city, for sure every major city in the world, but often some far out places. Like I've been in Bozeman, Montana, consulting for a university out in Montana once, a few times actually, and I stayed at a Chabad house in Bozeman, and they're all over. They're all over. The joke is that there's as many Starbucks as many Chabad houses. But let's get back to what Chabad's all about. So they have a tremendous allegiance to the Rebbe. The Rebbe was is their spiritual guide and mentor. And the reason also that singles out Chabad, it's true that there are other Hasidic sects that still have Rebbes who have not been replaced by another Rebbe. The most recent Rebbe of Lubavitch, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, died without children and did not appoint a successor. There are other Hasidic sects like that, like Breslov and others. But what makes Chabad different is that they are driven by a tremendous passion to go and fix the world, light the world, as lamplighters, as it were, in the world out there, through telling not just Jews, but also non-Jews, Gentiles, about things like the 7 Noahide laws and other things. So they are quite worldly. Now, what is going on with Shulem's rejection, though? So if you notice, and I'll show you here in this scene, if you notice in the blurry picture, you will see that, sorry about that, you will see that the son-in-law of Shulem is wearing a yarmulke, as is the kippah, right? A yarmulke, just as his grandchildren are, which states the following: that my Lord, the Melech HaMashiach, the King Messiah, should live forever and ever. So the problem with this is that this is the one area where Chabad has gotten hit the hardest. And I will not disagree with this criticism, but it is a minority of Chabad members who subscribe that the Rebbe who died in the early 90s was the Mashiach, and so to speak, still is the Mashiach, and they're just waiting for him to return. Now, that's a problem on a lot of levels with Judaic philosophy and thought from the traditional sense, Orthodox sense. There is a Talmud that says the Mashiach does appear every generation, but only comes if the generation's worthy. Well, we haven't been worthy yet, evidently, and the Rebbe might have been perhaps the Mashiach of his generation, but he wasn't, quote-unquote, revealed because it just didn't happen. So to say that he's sort of still alive and is the Messiah borders on some other thinkings in other religions and whatnot, which could be problematic. I'll leave that discussion there, but I will reiterate that that's a very significant minority of the Chabad movement, and so therefore I would say that that's not something to be taken as a system-wide issue. But that is why Shulem did reject them. He did reject them because for those, and this actually could happen in real life in the Hasidic and Haredi world, that there is so much passion around the philosophically how you believe, and if there's a feeling that there's a certain movement that is outside the scope of traditional Jewish thought, that could definitely cause someone to do something that extreme and cut his daughter out. It's still pretty extreme, but it can happen. So I will say that the storyline has certainly some truth to it, potentially. So that's why Shulem did not have that relationship. True, he softened a little bit as he came to know his grandchildren, etc., etc. But and you'll see throughout the episode, he makes various comments, negative comments about Lubavitch and whatnot. Bottom line is that I have very, very strong connections to the Chabad movement. I am personally not Chabad, but I've had many relationships, clients. I've taught at a Chabad school for 3 years, and I attend prayer services at a Chabad synagogue often. So I believe very much that the Chabad movement is a wonderful movement, and it deserves a lot of accolades. Of course, nothing is perfect. No movement is perfect, and there are always exceptions. And I certainly do not subscribe to the, so to speak, as they call it, the Mashiachist or the Messianic movement of Chabad, and that sort of also echoes to Sabbatean or the Shabtai Tzvi, if you're familiar with the historical Messianic movement that some individuals put out over the years, which caused great havoc in Jewish history. But here again, we come back to Shulem, and we come back to his somewhat strange relationship with his children, and we hope for a reconciliation with him and his daughter and son-in-law. And I will end off with one of the best lines in the series, which is when the son-in-law says to Shulem, is there not a shortage of scribes in Jerusalem that you need to come all the way out here and, get this scroll checked out by us? Anyway, hope you enjoy. Feel free to share and subscribe. And any comments, please let me know. Thanks.